Yeah, I'm currently asking myself how international law deals with conflicts on the in the area of extractive resources, and I'm primarily focusing on resources which are located in the territory of individual states. So I'm not so much looking at what is also a great topic in international law, resources which are considered the common heritage of mankind. And if we look at this other area, not at the common heritage of mankind, we see that there is not very much specific international law on resources. That was very much different in the 70s, where there was a high focus of international law on resource conflicts. But now resources are rather treated like other commodities in international trade law or like other investments in international investment law. And that, in my view, leads to a hiding of conflicts. So I'm trying to figure out what international law does to solve conflicts, but how it also hides these conflicts and how international law itself shapes resource conflicts. Yes, I think these were very important debates, and there were issues discussed which are worth, or institutions discussed which are worth being revisited. And in fact, I think they are being revisited, in particular the international commodity agreements, which are considered today as a failure, in particular with the bankruptcy of the International Tin Council. But now, given the high volatility of agricultural commodities, there have been actually some suggestions to have again virtual buffer stocks for agricultural commodities, and buffer stocks were one central feature of the international commodity agreements. What I also think was particularly important about the debates on the new international economic order was that there was a stress, at least that's how I interpret them, on the political aspects of resource extraction, so that it should be conflict should be resolved within political procedures. And these international commodity agreements, where resource exporting and resource importing states were to be represented equally, provided for procedures to deal with these conflicts in a procedural way. Whereas then, with what we might call the neoliberal consensus, there was a shift, I think, to a market paradigm, which also led to the fact that international law no longer treated resource conflict specifically, but rather was used to create a stable market order with the protection of investments, with the liberalization of trade. Yeah, I'm quite critical of the EU initiative, and particular this pillar which stresses the need to prohibit export restrictions for natural resources. So the EU stresses that, first of all, export restrictions should be prohibited. So they negotiate in WTO accession protocols the prohibition of export duties. Export quotas are already prohibited, but export duties so far are not prohibited under WTO law. So one aim is to get these prohibited as well, and if not in the WTO, then in regional trade agreements. And I do think that export duties are a very important instrument for resource-rich states to profit from resource extraction. So one aspect is that it's easier to gain income from tariffs or duties than from taxation, because of course we have this big problem today of tax evasion by multinational companies. And it's also a way to protect infant industries, which, and of course that's again an old argument from the 70s, to establish a processing industry to process these raw materials within the country.